Excellencies, dear guests, it is really a pleasure to be here today. Because if one is not known, the only way to get to know one another is to spend some time together. So I'm looking very much forward for this. And it's the first time for me in this beautiful country. So it has been a learning opportunity that I have tried to make the best of. It has been, I think, an immediate connection. This very warm welcome. I think a meeting of minds. And for me, the visit here has shown how much we have in common. But also that there are differences that will make a partnership interesting. Because in a good partnership, you're not the same. You share the fundamentals, but there are differences that make your partnership dynamic. And I think that is the real point here. In the world of geopolitics that we live in, I think no one wants to be forced to choose in a bipolar geopolitics. We want to present ourselves as who we are and gain strengths in doing so. And one of the fundamentals that we share is that the integrity and the respect of the individual is the starting point for our democracy, for our society, for our economy. This is how we work. We have different roles. We may be in different classes. We may live very different lives. But that very fundamental starting point, that it's about the individual, that we share in full. And we share the goal of building societies where everyone feels that they are counted in. That my contribution is part of making this society a success for oneself and for other people. And here, I think, in Europe and in Latin America, we are not successful yet. For many people, society is still not a home where one is counted in. So we have things to do. Here, of course, lasting peace, reconciliation is the absolute main key for everyone in this society to feel counted in. And for every one of us on this planet, the green and the digital transition is what must be top of mind. We cannot negotiate with the planet, but we can do our best both to figure out how to live with the climate change that is happening already, but also how to move forward in best global efforts to limit what would otherwise be a catastrophe for human living conditions here on our globe. And the thing is that the digital transition and the green transition has something in common. Because just as well as you cannot negotiate with the planet, as we're here, someone is coding. The real choice is whether or not we want to deal with technology. Make sure that the use of technology is for the benefits of us as humans, as individuals and as societies, or if we will just let go and let technology have its own course. And in Europe, we have made the very clear choice that democracy must step up. In order to make the most of technology, there must be a societal framework. There must be borders. It must be decided in democracy, not in closed boardrooms, in very few companies, how technology is going to be used for the greater good. And in these endeavors, I think Colombia has shown herself as a real leader. By taking the decision to host the launch of the EU, Latin America and Caribbean Alliance, Digital Alliance, I think one has shown the leadership that Colombia is prone to take in this region. The Digital Alliance is a framework. But it's not only a framework, it also has something substantial to offer. Because it's a regional relationship. And two things in particular are tangible. One thing is the Bella 2 project, with the Ella Link literally building a digital bridge between Europe and this continent, and enabling millions of people to connect with low latency. That creates completely new opportunities. And second, to strengthen the access to Copernicus data. As part of the Digital Alliance, we have launched a Copernicus repository in Chile and a facility in Panama to serve the entire region. Copernicus data is satellite data. They are free, they are open, they have a simple interface, everyone can sign up. For private businesses, for researchers, for public sector, the use of the data, only your imagination sets the limits. They can be used very urgently, as they were done in Chile with the horrible fires. Here they could map the fires, and the firefighters could do their job so much more efficiently. And that is a use of data in an urgency. But with the repository, one gets access also to data from last week, last month, 6 months ago. And you can see the trends. How are things changing? And when you can see trends, you can also enable change. So we are very happy with the launch that we did yesterday. We're very happy that we have this drive. Of course, investments will also follow. The initial pledges is 145 million euros. I'm absolutely certain that this will be more when we get to the summit in Brussels later this year. And what has been quite clear to me is that the leadership that Colombia is taking in this region is also shown in the bilateral negotiations that we have, the domestic ambitions. And this is why we have agreed on a bilateral digital economy package. This is the first such thing for any country in this region. And I think it kind of tells it all. We commit to mobilize both technical and investment support of President Petro's goal of achieving 85% of connectivity in the country. And for us, this is so much more than a question about technology. In the European Union, we have passed a declaration on digital rights and principles, solemnly signed by our Council, the European Parliament, and the Commission. And one of the rights that we underline is the right for every citizen to be connected. Not necessarily so that you can sit in whatever couch and watch Netflix all day, but that you can connect for the provision of public services, education, health, that you can connect to build a business, that you can connect for safety, for justice to be provided, for security to have a presence. And this is why we are so insisting, and this is why we are so appreciative of this aim of connecting so many more people in Colombia than what is the situation today. Because it provides opportunity for each and every one. And it provides an investment in peace, in inclusive societies, in fighting climate change, in fighting deforestation, enabling what we want to achieve. We will work with the governments, with the private sector, many of you present here, looking forward also to hear your views later today. We will work with you to make the most of the upcoming spectrum auctions for 5G, which is an absolute key to achieve what we want to achieve, hopefully building on lessons learned in Europe. And we have all kinds of lessons. We have the very successful one. We have, to say it mildly, the less successful ones. And of course, everyone will have to have their own experiences. There is no such thing as ejection experience. But there is a real chance of learning in order to get the necessary speed to achieve the goals. We will also contribute to last mile connectivity, starting with 3 pilot projects. We will do so in cooperation with the European Investment Bank. And that is, of course, to see what does it take? What barriers to overcome? What technology would be the most suited if you want to connect areas where there's no obvious business case? If there is a good business case, of course we expect business to do their business. If there is a so-so business case, well, that may be a need of incentive. But if there is no business case, then everyone needs to make an extra effort. Because for the people who live where there is no obvious business case, it is as important to be connected as if you're not. Because connectivity is the new extra way of being a citizen, to show that you belong in a country. And this is why we hope that these 3 pilot projects can show what is the way to go, what is the needs in order to scale. Because this is an amazing country. This is a diverse country, not only in its people, but also in its geography. So of course, if we can enable that one knows what to do, we will be very humble and very happy to do so. And also, as part of the package, we will help Colombia build up its new cybersecurity and space agency. And that, again, is an investment, because connectivity without cybersecurity, really not useful. And especially not if you want to use the connectivity to provide something important, like health services, or education, or doing your business. And managing the territory with data from positioning satellites, from satellites that would give you pictures of your land, well, that is the way to go to enable the ambitions that we see of the Colombian government. This package is not a one-off event. This is a beginning of a lasting partnership that we want to build. Of course, while digital is close to my heart, it's not the only area of deepening our partnership with Colombia. The other main priority is, of course, the green transition. As said, we cannot negotiate with the planet. We are in a situation of urgency in order to prevent a worse effect that we have seen already. And Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine has underlined that the green transition is not only an economic and climate thing, it also has a very, very strong security dimension. Because the green transition will enable so much more homegrown energy to be provided. And that kind of independence gives a different strength in the geopolitical environment that we have right now. And I think that promoting the net zero technologies, of course, it will help us get to the goals of the Paris Climate Agreement, but because of its security effects, because of its economic effects, it will also support the self-determination of people. And the paradox here, of course, is that Self-determination of people is not the same as protectionism. It's not the same as closing off to the outer world. In Europe, we call it open strategic autonomy, because it's really important that you can take your own decisions. But in Europe, there's no way that we can take our own decisions without being very, very closely related to the rest of the world. Without partners, we would be so much poorer. Without partners, we would have so much fewer opportunities. But we are a much better partner if we are more self-assertive and if we can do more things ourselves. We are committed to support global climate action through innovative technologies to solutions like green hydrogen. And we see this provision of renewable energy as part of economic competitiveness. It works for security, it works for the planet, but it also works for delivering an attractive business environment, because the access to low-cost, predictable energy supply is part and parcel of having strong competitiveness. In this line of thinking, on the 1st of February, the European Commission, we announced our Green Deal Industrial Plan. And it's an integrated part of this plan to simplify the regulatory environment, speeding up access to finance, developing skills, and a trade policy to promote the use of net zero technologies. And later this week, we will adopt the proposals to give muscle to the bone of the strategy of the Green Deal Industrial Plan, to make it a plan, something that can actually happen on ground, something that we can pull off. And these laws will enable Europe to accelerate. It's called the Net Zero Industry Act, it's called the Raw Materials Act, Critical Raw Materials Act, and it will help us to get to the goals that we need. And the thing is that the green transition, and I have felt it so strongly with every partner I have been speaking with in these days, is not a zero-sum game. Here, there is enough for everyone. We will not be successful in fighting climate change if there is not green industries on every continent. Maybe not the same in every country, but in every continent, because otherwise we will not make it. We deeply believe that we should accelerate our ambitions to become carbon neutral, because then we will not only serve the planet well, we will also serve our economic interests well, and we will serve our security interests well. And Colombia has what it takes to be a leader here too. Last year, Colombia became the first country in all of the Americas to adopt a green taxonomy to guide sustainable investments. Interoperability with the European Union green taxonomy will be an efficient tool to mobilize further European investments in the country. From geothermal to solar to forestry management or sustainable raw material, Colombia has immense potential for a clean tech partnership with the European Union. But all of that hinges on one thing, and that one thing is people. People with the skills, with the knowledge, with the expertise to make things happen. People with a mindset of wanting to create partnerships, to want to get to know each other sufficiently strong, to use what we have in common as a driver, and to use where we are different as an inspiration. Then we can be successful. Without people, we're nothing. We could have all the funding in the world, all the technology in the world. Without people, nothing would be achieved. And this is why I am so thankful for the establishment of this forum, for the history of it, for the fact that we're here today, because nothing comes from nothing. It all has to be organized. It all has to be put together. So thank you very, very much. For me, this is a learning opportunity. It's a way to get to know you so much better. And as said, knowledge, that is the real bridge between continents, knowledge of one another. Thank you very much for your attention.